Hello and welcome. Let's talk about Sass and responsive design. We need to do some responsive design to our call to action element so that it changes for different screen sizes. And we could see this happening here. It changes many different ways as we change screen sizes. So let's get started on Sass and some responsive design. In our package.json file, we have some dev dependencies in here already. We have node Sass and watch. I installed both of these, so if you are just following along and you don't have these files, please install these with yarn add node Sass, yarn add watch, and write this script down here. I wrote a script to compile Sass code into CSS code that can be read by a browser. So what this is doing, it's using the watch package to watch these files, a file that is in src/scss, and I did name the file as well, but you don't actually need to. And then it's going to trigger node Sass every time it sees a change in that area and output node Sass's code to src/styles. And that's where the changes will be. They'll be changed from the SCSS, the Sass code that we're writing, into CSS in the src/styles area. Now let's get that work started because we no longer want to write CSS code, we want to write Sass code. So we need an src/scss folder. So let's do that first. In src, SCSS is our folder, and inside of there we need main.scss. Okay, so main.scss, and we have that now. Now our main.scss is going to handle all of our SCSS. All of our Sass gets written in here. What it is an import file. So we're going to have partial files that get imported into here to make our entire file, our main file. So let's make our first partial for our reset. In SCSS, make a new file. Underscore delineates that it's a partial file, so please do an underscore here, and then type reset.scss. And in here, all we need to do is take everything in reset, copy it, and then paste it into here. And this is just fine because an SCSS file can also read CSS. So we can save that and we will import it. And that's pretty simple. It's just @import. And then a // and you could select it. You don't need the underscore before it or the .scss at the end. This is just fine, and a semicolon after it. And we can save that. Let's do this one more time for repetition. We'll make another file for CTA top. Underscore CTA-top.scss. Okay, we'll grab everything from CTA top here, copy it, go into our new CTA top, paste it, and save it. Go into our main, write @import, // and we have our CTA top. Okay, I know this all feels like an extra step, but it's going to be really, really useful, especially when we start working with our mixins and we start doing some media queries with our mixins. It makes resizing our page and doing responsive design very, very easy, and we'll get to that soon. So we have this imported here, but we need to run that script. Let's get back to that script real quick. That was in package.json here. We need to run this SCSS script and look at the output. So there should be an output now in styles. And you know what? Let me get rid of these. It will break our app, of course, because they're being imported. Move them to the trash. And our app is now broken. Okay, in app.js, we'll just get rid of them for now. So our app is running, and we could see this is what it looked like before we did all that work styling it. All right, well, let's get it back there by splitting the terminal. I press that button to split the terminal. And now just write in yarn run SCSS. It's going to run that script for us. And we just have to save one of the SCSS files for it to actually compile. So we'll save and keep an eye on styles. It should write into there. It did. Now we have main.css, and what does that look like? It has our reset, that's what we put in first, and then after that it has all of our CTA information too, all of our call to action is in here as well. So that's how the main is working. We're just importing everything that we do in other files into main, and then it will compile it down into this main, this styles main. So let's put that into our app so our app looks cool again. Import, and then we will / to styles / again to main. And save that. Let's see if we're working right. Yeah, now we're back with all that work that we did. Great. We've integrated Sass into our project. Now let's start using it. One of the things I really want to cover in Sass is variables. So let's do that next. In SCSS, let's make an underscore variables.scss file. And in here, we'll practice making a few variables. Let's do some color variables. We know we'll need white, so you need the $, and then just write color-white, and that's the variable name. You can name it whatever you want, but you do need the $. So color white, and we know what that is. That should be all Fs. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 6 Fs. And let's do color black as well. Color-black. And same thing with all zeros. So we have black and white in there. Now let's do some of the colors we're actually using. And not to say that we won't use black or white, I'm sure we will, but we have that gray light color that we've been using for text. So let's do that one. That was F7's. Okay. We also had the color slate, and that was a dark slate. So how about slate dark? And let me look that up real quick. What did we use for that? 29303B. 29303B. Now we have our slate dark variable made. We definitely need that blue that we had. So let's make the color-blue-light. And that will be 1D-ACE3. There's the blue. And finally, just one more color that we're going to use on the landing page a bit later is the color pink dark. And that will be E9327C. That's right. Okay, great. That all looks good to me, and I'd like to start using it pretty much right away. So let's go over to main.scss and import that, because we'll just import all of our files into here, and then /, and we have our variables. We're also going to import this locally to our files, otherwise we'll have a problem over here. Sometimes it'll just come up red telling us that it can't find variables. So we'll import that locally into our files. The first one we need to import it into is CTA top. We need to do all the work to this one. Okay, so CTA top, we need to import / and grab variables. Perfect. Now we're ready to go to change all of the colors. Oh, remember we made this transparent color. Let's make a color transparent variable real quick. Back to variables. And we'll put that up top. Color transparent. And that was 6 Fs and then 2 zeros for the alpha. Now we could head back into this. So the first thing we want to do is erase this and just bring in the variable color-transparent. And erase this was the slate color. So this will be color-slate-dark. And you can see that it does shade itself to the right color and everything. Looks really good. And let's keep going. We have these F7s. We know that the F7 one was the color gray. So color gray light, we named it. Okay, and that's going to come up a few times. So I'm just going to copy it. I know that came up, I think, 2 more times. Yep. And paste them in there. Paste them in there. Now we have this blue, that was color blue light, so color blue light, and one more time. Color blue light. Now we should have the same thing, but we're using all variables now. This is great, this looks good, and now our code is quite a bit more readable as well. Let's start digging into some responsive design now. So in order to make this site responsive, we're going to have to go back into our variables folder, and we could use a different folder for this. We could have like a Mixins folder or something like that, but we'll do it right in this variables folder because we're not going to do a ton of Mixins for this project. So we'll do a few more variables here. They will be, instead of colors, they're going to be different break points for media queries. So let's call them media query break points, just so we know exactly what's here. Now our media query breakpoints, we just need 3 of them. We want a small screen, a medium screen, and a large screen. So I'll write screen -sm -max, because we'll do max media queries, so I like to keep that there so I remember why I wrote this. We'll have that at 596 px for pixels, and then let's move on to the next one. So the next one will be screen md max, and that one will be 768 pixels. And one more, we'll just do the large one, screen LG max, and that can be 992 pixels. Great, with that done, we can actually write a few mixins. So these will be our media query mixins, and they are a bit much to understand right away, but we'll put them to use and then they'll be very understandable. So mixins. In order to write a mixin, write @mixin. And mixins need a name. I'll name this one SM for small. Now we'll do our media query @media, and here we'll put some parentheses open. I'll say max width. These will be max width queries. That's why we did that max after all of them. And now use the hashtag, open up some brackets here, and we're going to have screen. And there it is right away, screen small max. That is the max width of the media query. And inside of this little media query function that we're writing here, all we're going to do is write @content. And what this is doing, how I like to think of this, is every time I call this SM variable, anything I put inside of it gets stored here. All the content goes here. So that's the mixin and how it's working. Let's do the other ones. They're pretty simple because it's the same thing 2 more times. This one will be MD, and make sure you change it here too on the screen dash part. And this one will be LG. Now we're set up with media queries. Let's start using them in CTA top. Now, luckily, we are using Sass, and we could really simplify this code and then therefore simplify our media queries. We used this naming convention where we called everything CTA top and then what it was, image, text box. And then if it was inside the text box, it would be CTA top text box -- headline -- story -- button. And we could see this right here. Now, these names can get pretty long, but it makes this all a lot easier because in Sass, what we can do is get rid of all of this and just put an ampersand and what comes next. So what it's saying is .cta top n -- image. Now, you do need to wrap it in the braces of CTA top. So we would need to put the brace down here instead. Now, everything in this entire file starts with CTA top. So I'm going to take that curly brace there and put it at the end. There we go. That means we need to get rid of all these CTA tops. So CTA top, and then we have CTA top text box. So let's get rid of that too, replace it with an ampersand. Now this is reading .cta top _ text box. Let's head down a bit. And then we have all these things that are inside the text box. And a really cool feature of Sass is we can stack our ampersands. So if we wrap them all in the text box curly braces, so I'll take that curly brace and I'll put it right at the bottom. Now everything here is wrapped in the text box curly braces. And you can see where it ends. I press right here. This is the text box one. This is the CTA one. Okay, now this is in the text box. All we need is this -- headline. Let's take all of this out, ampersand. Same thing here. And we really can just duplicate two of them and fix them with an ampersand. Except this one would probably be better to be put inside of button, which is pretty cool too. So let's grab that. So now I'm opening up the curly braces for button, and after button hover, I'm going to paste those curly braces in, meaning now button hover is within these braces here. So we no longer need button, all we need is and hover. Cleaned it up a little bit more, and I think it looks pretty nice now. Let's make sure our code is still working. Oh, beautiful, it is. We didn't make any errors inside of here. Again, if this is a little confusing the first time you're seeing it, we will do this over and over, so don't worry about it. Just keep following along, and you'll definitely learn it a second or third or fourth or 100th time, because we'll be designing quite a few elements. Now that we're working in Sass, let's do our responsive design here. First, we'll go to the IMG area. There are some changes we need to make to the image, and they're pretty easy to see. So I'm going to write @include. Now this is going to bring in our mixin. Include MD, so that's our medium mixin. Inside of here, let's change the width to 100% and just see this in action. So save that. Make sure it does save, go over here, and let's get the inspector on. And we'll shrink it. Now, the image should go 100% by the time we're done shrinking it. There it goes, right there at the medium that we had at 7 something, real high 7s. 769 maybe, something right around there. So that is working, and it's that simple to make these changes according to a media query using Sass. So we can make a lot more of them and really make the page look great on any device. The next thing we'll do is change the background image a little bit. So the background image at this point, you know what, let's actually, it's going to be so much typing for no reason. It's the same background image, so just take all of this and we're going to change some percentages. Now, we're going to leave a little extra room for the words on the page. So we'll start at 15 still, but let's end at 30%. That'll give 10% more room to the words on the page. And you could see this kind of moved over a little bit and got a little bit extra of the picture out. Now, the text box didn't get any bigger yet. We'll have to do that separately, but just to see that, you can see how that resizes this part of the photo as well. And just to finish this out, after this @include medium, let's do an @include, and we'll do small. Now when it gets too small, the width will stay at 100%, but the background image is going to change. So it'll just be background image, and we'll just take this right here. And there's no longer any sort of cover on it, any sort of linear gradient going over it. It's just going to have a background image. And let's see that in action. Cool. Okay. That's exactly what we want. We want that image now to be the entire screen, and we will make this more visible when we work on the text box. Now let's head back in and start working on another element. We'll head down to text box. Okay, now in text box, after text box, but before headline, @include medium. Now inside of our MD, we're going to change the height a little bit. So that'll be 34 rem, which is a little bit higher than it used to be. It used to be 30 rem. And the width can now go to 60%. It could be a little bit bigger due to the changes we made. And finally, since we're at 100% on the actual width of everything, we can get off the left, not by a percentage, but by a set amount. And the set amount I'm going to use will be 3 rem. Let's take a look. There we go. That looks a lot better now. You can see this kind of move a bit, and let's do it again so we can really see it. There we go. That's looking really good. So that was a big change, and it definitely increased the size of our text box. Instead of it being this small text box, it's now much wider, and that helps keeping all those letters in there. Okay, great. Let's keep going on text box. Let's do these small. @include SM for small. Let's do a width of 100%. a left of 0, a padding of 2 rem, a background color. So this background color is necessary so that we could see the words. So we'll do a background color, and let's do that color slate, the same one we were using. So RGBA, and this is kind of another cool thing about Sass. We could use variables right inside of an RGBA as well. So you can check this out. Just write your color slate dark, I think we called it. Yes, we did. Great. Then comma to your alpha value. I'll do 0.9. Let's take a look at that. There we are. We can see it right there. There's where it comes in. Okay, so this is that slate with the 0.9 alpha, so you could kind of still see through the picture, but it's very, very clear what's being written, and we want that as the most important part of the website, is the actual data on it. So let's move back into here and make a few more changes, and I'd like to make them not in this file itself, but in the reset file, because as we get smaller, we don't need the same font sizes. You have to think about people seeing this on a big computer. We start going maybe to a laptop, which is a little closer to you, and then finally, we're definitely on a pad at this point, and then this is a phone, so that's closer to you as well. So we could change these font sizes a little bit. Let's head in here, and HTML is where we're defining our font sizes. Actually, before that, remember to bring in variables. I almost forgot. So at import / and variables. So at HTML here, let's start with our variables. At include, we'll start with large. So at large, font size, that's going to be about 58%. And that will be a big change here. So as we reach large right there, we see everything changes. Remember, we're working in rem, so everything kind of shrinks down with the font size change. And there it is. There's that font size change. See that button moving as well? That's because it's measured within rem. That's great. Okay, looking really good. Let's do our medium. Let's start pasting these. MD and SM. And I want 55 and 53. And we might change these as we start looking at the layouts, not by a ton, but maybe from 53 to 51 or something. But right now, I just want the site to respond to being resized and not have it be us in each one of the elements going, oh man, the font looks pretty big here. And it looks great now because we changed it, but it used to look pretty big here. So that's a good change that we just made there. And with this saved and the changes we made to CTA top, I think we're pretty much finished. I would like to do maybe one more different size for the button. Let's take a look, see if that's necessary. I think it looks pretty good there. And there. Yeah, you know what? Let's keep the button the way it is. I think it looks good. We'll just leave it like that. All right, great job on this one. Head over to the next one. We'll have a lot more to go through. I'll see you there.